This video explains how to split a number into digits using the R programming language. So without too much talk, let's dive into the R code. In this video we will use the TeachingDemos package. So for that reason we will first have to install and load the package, as you can see in lines 2 and 3 of the code. I have installed the package already, so for that reason I'm just going to load it with line 3 of the code. And then we also need to create an example data object, as you can see in line 5 of the code. So after running this line of code, a new data object called x1 is appearing at the top right. And by running line 6 of the code, you can see at the bottom in the console that our data object contains the number 13579. Now let's assume that we want to split this number into its digits. Then we can apply the digits function of the TeachingDemos package, as you can see in line 8 of the code. And we simply can apply this function to our data object. So in this case, our data object is called x1. And then in this case, I'm also storing the output of this in a new data object that I'm calling x1 split 1. So after running line 8 of the code, this new data object is appearing at the top right. And we can also print it to the console by running line 9 of the code. And then you can see that our new data object contains the same numbers as our input data object. However, this time we have split these numbers into a vector of digits. We can also specify the number of elements in our output vector using the digits function, as you can see in line 11 of the code. And for this we need to specify the n argument, and in this case I want to specify that our output vector should have 10 elements. So after running line 11 of the code, another data object called x1 split 2 is appearing at the top right. And if we print this data object to the console, you can see that we have added several 0 values in front of our other digits that we have extracted from our input data object x1. So in the previous parts of the tutorial, I have explained how to split a single number into digits. However, it's also possible to split a vector of numbers into digits, as you can see in the following lines of code. And for this, we first need to create another example data object, as you can see in line 14 of the code. And in line 15 of the code, I'm printing this data object, and then you can see in the console that we have created a vector object containing 3 different numbers. Now, if we apply the digits function to this data object, as we did in the previous example, then another output is returned. So after running lines 17 and 18 of the code, you can see that we have created a list object. And each of the list elements corresponds to one of the values in our input vector. So the first list element simply contains the value 1. The second list element contains the digits of our second number, and the third list element contains the digits of our third number. However, we can also modify this output, as you can see in line 20 of the code. So in this case, I'm using the simplify argument, and I'm setting this argument to be equal to true. So after running lines 20 and 21 of the code, you can see that we have created a matrix, and this matrix contains the 3 elements of our input vector split into digits. And as you can see, since some of the numbers were longer than others, the other columns are also containing zeros. So for instance, the first element in our input vector contained only the value 1, and for that reason the digits function has added zeros in the upper rows of this matrix. It's also possible to unlist this matrix to get a single vector object using the unlist function in combination with the digits function, as you can see in line 23 of the code. So after running lines 23 and 24, you can see at the bottom in the console that we have combined all the digits into a single numeric vector object. That's all I wanted to explain in this video. In case you want to learn more on this topic, you may check out my homepage, statisticsglobe.com, because on my homepage I have recently published a tutorial in which I'm explaining the content of this video in some more detail. I will put a link to this tutorial into the description of the video, so you can find it there. If you have liked this video or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. I'll try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. Furthermore, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified about future video releases. I have already published about 500 videos on this channel and I'm releasing new videos on a daily basis. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next video.